Before Hamas's attack of October 7th, how often were you in contact with Hamas and why?
For the last 8 years, I've been negotiating with Hamas, trying to get the release of the bodies of 2 Israeli soldiers who were killed in 2014 and 2 Israeli civilians who are living and are in Gaza since 2014. I had proposed to my interlocutor, the main interlocutor was Dr. Ghazi Hamad, that we meet face to face somewhere. Found 2 or 3 countries that we could meet in order for us to brainstorm together on how to break this deadlock between Israel and Hamas. There was a brief period in the summer of 2022 when he seemed willing to meet me, and then he backed off from it. I've been trying to push him in the last months for us to meet for a couple of days in Cairo. He at that point told me I'm not allowed. I think by that time he already knew that something big was planned in the military operation.
So that's interesting. That's a little telling, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And when the war started and I was communicating with him from the second day of the war, and I asked him about his family and he didn't answer. And then a few days later, I discovered that he wasn't even in Gaza.
When you heard about the hostages at first, did you genuinely think we can come up with a deal here?
And when I heard the dimensions of it, I knew immediately that the only deal that they would accept would be the all for all the prisoners. And I'm pretty sure I know Hamas well enough to think that they would not accept a partial deal at this point. Their backs are against the wall. I think that there is still a potential deal on the table. I don't know how any Israeli government would accept it. It's an impossible dilemma of releasing probably around 7,000 Palestinian prisoners. On the other hand, Israel has a moral responsibility to bring them home because Israel failed to protect them.
Has there been proof of life for all of them, or?
No. People who are hostages need life-saving medication, and we're trying to find ways to get them into Gaza. There was an offer made by one of the groups that we would send in big packages of medication for the children of Gaza, along with a separate package of medication for the hostages, and see if that can maybe get into Gaza. So Hamas is just not cooperating with any of these attempts to help the hostages, provide information about them, give any assurance to their families.
Your communication has changed. I mean, you have cut it off now. What happened with Ghazi Hamad's statement that shook you to your core?
At the beginning, he was denying that they even killed civilians in Israel. And then after he could no longer deny it because it was so vivid, it was all over the media, he justified it. And he said, we did it and we're going to continue to do it. We'll have 1 million October 7s. We will annihilate Israel. And that crossed a red line for me in terms of him being worthy enough for me to talk to.
Do you believe that there are any negotiations happening and that maybe it's just happening at a level that you're not aware of?
There are negotiations taking place in the Qatari track that the Americans are also engaged in. There are negotiations taking at the place of the Egyptian intelligence, and they have connections to the military command of Hamas. There are reports of a third track going on with American involvement out of Beirut. Ultimately, the decisions are going to be made underground in Gaza and by the Israeli government, who's going to have to agree to some kind of negotiated agreement.
Do you think they ever will?
I think we still have time to exhaust every possibility for a negotiated deal. It's not done yet, and it's very difficult.
You take care, sir.
Thank you.